In a crowded field of potential Republican presidential candidates, one person is getting a lot of attention these days. According to the Wall Street Journal, the financial industry is warming up to Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. And he is set to attend a series of fundraisers with big dollar donors when he visits New York City next week. Let's talk about his prospects with Colby Itkowitz, national reporter for The Washington Post, and Danielle Halper, online editor for The Weekly Standard. Thanks for being here on this Friday.
Thank you.
That Wall Street Journal article was pretty glowing, Colby, about his fundraising potential. Wall Street likes him, and Wall Street apparently is not alone right now.
Yeah, you know, the Washington Post called him the it candidate right now. You had to look no further to the Washington Post and the Boston Globe on the same day this week. Put out huge stories on Scott Walker's college years. He is the candidate everyone's talking about. He is a conservative Republican, but he comes across as a moderate. It's something that a lot of these candidates don't have, so he can bridge that gap. He can bring about the policies of a Ted Cruz, but he can have the demeanor of a Jeb Bush. And Republicans are excited about that.
And in their minds, he is a huge contrast, Daniel, to President Obama.
Absolutely. I think the big central conservative Republican argument against Obama boils down to one of competency. A lot of Republicans, conservatives, they don't think President Obama is competent. Scott Walker, meanwhile, exudes competence. He has turned around the state of Wisconsin, a liberal state. He has won elections. That excites conservatives. They think that he is the answer, the remedy to the solutions that President Obama, the problems that he's created. And so it excites Republicans because they think that this guy can govern well, which is what the next Republican president will need to do.
But, Colby, we saw last time around there was virtually a new leader in the Republican field every week. Is there a danger or a problem from potentially peaking too early here?
Absolutely. I mean, he is the first so-called frontrunner, other than Jeb Bush, that we're all talking about right now. And we saw that in 2012. There was a new so-called frontrunner maybe every week, and then the risk would be they would then say something or do something, and then they would plummet. And you saw Scott Walker in London this week being extraordinarily cautious and careful not to answer questions like questions about evolution and other things that could make headlines, but he's going to make headlines anyway. I think the difference with Scott Walker and some of the candidates we saw in 2012 is that he is a governor, he is a serious person, he has governed a state, a swing state, and he's done it well. And he also doesn't have a congressional voting record that's all muddled that people can target him with. So he's a strong contender.
And he won 3 elections in a state that's not always very friendly to Republicans. We asked our Fox News polling unit asked people to give letter grades to these candidates to suggest how they think they would do as president. Interesting, first of all, that nobody gets an A, but Scott Walker actually leads the pack in this Fox News poll. He gets a B. Ben Carson comes in at B-, Rubio B-, Huckabee, Cruz, Jeb Bush, Rand Paul, John Kasich, and Rick Perry all get a C+. And then at the very bottom of the pack, Chris Christie gets a C. Daniel, what does that say to you?
Well, I think Republicans are very critical of their candidates. They expect a lot from them, and they want to learn more. It tells me that, they're taking them seriously. A B is a solid grade, but there's a lot of room for an improvement, and they want to hear, like, what does Scott Walker think about foreign policy? We know that he's competent as a running a state, but foreign policy doesn't have much experience in. So people want to know what he thinks about these issues. Same with all these other candidates. They have their strengths. They don't have as big of profiles as, say, somebody like Hillary Clinton. So Republican voters want to get to know these guys. They want to know what their aspirations are for the country. They want to know how they talk to them. There's all these things that will come out in the next 11 months when the voting starts that I think will be extremely helpful.
And fair or not, Colby, so much of this early struggle is not so much about ideas and how you would govern. It's about how much money you can raise, right?
And that's always what it is. I mean, you saw Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush started battling out for donors and fundraisers when it looked like Mitt Romney might run, and when it became clear that a lot of his old donors and supporters were leaning towards Jeb Bush, he pulled back. In the beginning stages here, it's who can garner the most support, who can really fill their coffers so that they can then go out and run successful campaigns in Iowa and New Hampshire and onward.
Colby It Quits from the Washington Post, Daniel Halper from the Weekly Standard. Thank you.
Thank you.